Hi and welcome to Federal Bank Let's Talk. Group of Technology Companies is a strategic grouping of IT companies playing a proactive role in the development of IT in the state. GTECH is an NGO with over 200 members. And today with us, we have the Secretary of GTECH, Mr. ANOOP AMBIKA, an entrepreneur himself. Let's talk. Welcome to Federal Bank Let's Talk. The theme of GTECH is supporting IT, supporting people. So how does your association do justice to this motto?
Well, I guess we selected that theme a couple of years back when we became the office bearers of GTECH. Just to put a thrust on the fact that many of the people who come into the IT and make it big in their life comes from middle class families, upper middle class, lower middle class families, not from the richest ones in the country. So what we wanted to really put a thrust on was people come, this is an industry that gives an opportunity to the common man to come and make a decent income and then later turn into entrepreneurs and make it big in their life. So you don't really have to be the son of the Tatas or the Ambanis to be an entrepreneur in this industry. So that is why we said, supporting IT is eventually supporting the middle class of this country, which forms the majority of the population of this country.
Okay. What prompted the formation of GTECH?
GTECH was formed quite a number of years back. I don't know the exact year, but quite a number of years back. And it was started by one of the pioneering entrepreneurs of Technopark named Sunil Gupta. He was the managing director of IVL India Private Limited. At that point of time, Technopark was just a budding organization, and there was no organization in Kerala. There was no NASCOM, there was no CII to take the issues of the industry or take the issues of the park to the government or to any of the regulatory agencies. If you have a policing issue inside Technopark, then you have nobody to take
There's
up that
no
issue.
one-point contact.
So basically, he realized that need of an organization of the entrepreneurs to highlight the issues of this industry in front of the government during a budget preparation, maybe during a hartal, things like that. And probably he was a visionary to see the need of this organization at that point of time. And that is how GTECH was formed.
What are some of the key issues that you have addressed, that GTECH has addressed?
So some of the issues that we have looked at in the past is, the security of the campuses that we work on. As you all know, there is an increasing threat of terrorism in the country, specifically targeted at the IT parks of the country. So we have worked with the government in formalizing some of the security measures inside the Technopark. The second thing that we have heavily focused is work with the government or the policymakers to create an ecosystem that fosters the industry and will eventually enhance IT entrepreneurship inside the state of Kerala. Most of the multinational companies who have already set up shop in India are now looking for a tier 2 destination which will be cost competitive. And the cities that are in the fray include Bhubaneswar, Chandigarh, Coimbatore, Trivandrum, Cochin, etc., etc. So GTECH's ultimate motive is to work with the government and create an ecosystem in the form of infrastructure, amenities, entertainment, etc., etc., to woo more employees back to the state and make it a bigger IT destination. And the third thing is an increased collaboration between the companies. So what usually happens in Technopark is that what we have found is people come to work to your company, work for your 8 or 12 or 14 hours, and then go back home. without knowing each other or without sharing the best practices that some of these companies have devised, which could help the small and medium enterprises to grow. So we have created some of the platforms like Inspire along with NASSCOM, wherein industry leaders within the park and outside the park come and share the best practices that they have adopted in their institutions and help the small and medium enterprises, the budding entrepreneurs, to adopt those challenges into their organization and grow in that process. So an increased collaboration between them.
Is your fine arts club also a part of that strategy?
Well, you could say so, because you see the same phases over and over again, and the biggest problem that people say about IT industry is that it is monotonous. You come, you see the same people, you sit in front of the computer, you do the pretty much the same amount of work, but we wanted to put an end to that and make a platform that will provide a collaboration between employees, and that is how we created Natana, which is a fine arts club which was started, now a registered society, an independent registered society run by the employees, but it was created with auspices of I would personally, if somebody asked me what is your biggest achievement in the last 2 years working for GTECH, I would say it is Natana.
And in your position as Secretary of GTECH, what are the major roles that you assume?
Basically, the primary thing that we usually do, one, is to interact with the trade bodies of foreign countries and enable an ecosystem where, if you want to go set up an office in Singapore, we will facilitate that entire process. You have a business opportunity in Singapore, you want help from the local Singaporean trade body.
It's like a bridge.
Yes, it is like a partner whom you can trust to take your business into a different country and execute it without any problems. We do look at the visa issues to a certain extent. Within India, we actually work with the government on a consortium model to help the small and medium enterprises in the state to bid for the e-governance projects.
Coming to you, I mean, you have worked in several countries across the globe. You've been employed with some of the best names in the industry. What inspired you to come down to small Trivandrum and set up your own organization?
Well, my intention was to support my parents who were getting older, and my brother was actually completing his engineering education, and he wanted to move out and pursue other opportunities. So I thought that it is partly my responsibility to come back and support my parents. So, and when I looked at it, India, and this was in 2003, when we had our first kid. So in 2003, when I looked at it from US, I felt that the world is going to be one big nation eventually. There's not going to be much bounds about Denmark, or everything is going to be, once you know everything, you know how to get there or bring those things into your country. So I wanted to be here, and at that point of time itself I wanted to create an establishment in Kerala, because I partly felt that people in Kerala are extremely talented the moment you go
outside.
Which is a social issue that we should deal with. How do we deal with it? It is only when people who have got a certain amount of comfort and exposure come back and set up something and prove that it is possible to the rest of the world. And more people will follow. Partly the reason why I set up something is because my friends, two of my friends who studied with me had already set up shop in Technopark. So I knew that it was possible.
And that is how Creera Solutions came into being.
Well, the story of Creera was a little more detailed. I have to say that.
We listened to
When I came back, I took up a job in Trivandrum, and I wanted to start a company. So I was looking at the rest of the companies here in Technopark, and many of the people were providing .NET programming services or Java programming services, and so I'm not saying that they are doing anything wrong. I mean, I felt that science is missing in this entire IT fray, because my personal belief is that only when you combine engineering or science with software is when you deliver value products. Software is only a supporting service, you want to pay your bill, you can write a software for that, but the functionality is you pay your bill. You want to design an aeroplane, you can write a software for that, but the functionality is design. So basically, I thought that the focus should slowly shift from, the traditional programming model onto a more science-centric model. So that is when I started looking at data analytics as an area where we could work on, and maths and numbers are something that has triggered me and excited me from a very young age, and I thought that this is a good opportunity, which eventually led us into the pharmaceutical domain, where new drugs are tested using statistical methods. So we heavily use statistics as a science inside this organization. We do programming for doing statistical testing, and we heavily use our experience in the pharmaceutical industry, which has been gained over the past 8 years. And another thing that I wanted to add to this is that when I first talked to some of the universities like Kerala University or Cochin University about hiring statisticians and putting them on to application, many of them couldn't believe or
that there was such an opportunity,
that such an opportunity existed 8 years back. And when I talked to the people who were passing out of the universities, their ultimate ambition was to get a junior research fellowship and eventually became a PhD or a teacher or a professor in one of these colleges. That the career ended there. I am proud of the fact that I took statistics as a science and opened up a whole new avenue of career opportunities. Now, the people who work here as statisticians, if they want to teach, they can go out and teach much better than some of the professors out there in the universities. They can pursue their career in analytics. They could switch from pharma into insurance and go into another field altogether, a retail. There are several avenues that they can pursue. I personally believe that if you focus on the science and build software on top of the science or engineering, that is where the opportunity lies. And Triera was formed with that concept in mind.
Okay. As an entrepreneur, when you set up shop, what were your major roadblocks and how did you overcome them?
Frankly speaking, I did not have any major roadblocks. I mean, that is, I'm not just putting it out, but the initial roadblock for any entrepreneur who is looking to start a company are two. One, you need an idea, which we already had. We knew that we were going to focus on analytics or pharmaceutical industry and things of that sort. The second is funding. So the moment I started speaking about this idea to a couple of my friends, 5 of them were willing to put 5 lakhs each, and in a day's time I had 25 lakhs in my hand. And that is all that is required to start something small in this industry. You're not investing crores of money in
I'm sure
shops.
People listening to this will be inspired.
Absolutely. I mean, that is, eventually don't start a services shop. That is what I want to thrust again and again. Don't start a services shop. You just don't write software just for the heck of it. Don't do it. I guess I wouldn't say one person. I would say it's my parents who has inspired my life. I guess it's all a matter of taking people into confidence. People think that it's a park of engineers, it's a park of managers or MBAs, which is not at all true.